Let's max this up. All right, hey, Indian Creek 8th grade students, welcome back for another week of e-learning. This is, I think we're up to day 15 now of e-learning, counting the stuff that we had to do before spring break and then into now. I appreciate the continued, tuning in and either watching live or replaying afterwards. It seems like there have been quite a large number of people who have been tuning into these live streams or at least watching them afterwards, which is great because like I said, we're just trying to keep things as close as possible to the actual classroom. So I'll just preview. Actually, first I'll say I hope everyone had a wonderful long weekend. I hope you got to, spend some time with your families, whether that was in person, socially distanced, or do like what I did, which was do some like group FaceTimes and things like that, and just got to enjoy some of your time that way. I will say going forward this week, and I kind of talked about it towards the end of last week, most of what we're going to be doing this week in language arts is going to be reading Animal Farm, doing like chapter summaries, updating our allegory chart, and then there will be optional assignments every day for those of you who are wanting to go further, to continue to push yourselves and things like that, but they are not going to be required. So just keep an eye out on the Google Forms and in Google Classroom. If it says optional, and I try to always put it in all caps, that is not an assignment that you're going to be required to do. But if you want to do it, you can do it. All right, so that's just up to you. So why don't we look at our daily e-learning updates. Just to review, we had 48 out of 51 8th graders who submitted their attendance on Thursday. That was just one of those click-in questions, which is great. And then we had 45 students who submitted their current events in social studies last week. So much better. Only 6 people left to get to that full 51. The only other thing I will say, we had the optional vocab review for Unit 6 through 9 and then previewing Unit 10 on Thursday just as an optional assignment, and I only had 14 out of 51 students who completed that, which is fine. I mean, like I said, they're optional for a reason. It's up to you if you want to do them. But just remember that for these optional assignments, it's if you do it completely and you turn it in, you're getting full credit for it. So if you're looking for a way to boost your grade, or if your parents are asking if there's anything more you can be doing, or you're just looking for that extra time and looking to get credit, these optional assignments are there for you. And I try not to make any too super long. So just remember that little bit of extra work can be helpful in bumping your grade up. All right. So here was our participation from last week. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, we had 49 out of 51 people do their journal or their form. Thursday, it fell off a little bit, which is to kind of be expected, getting ready for a longer weekend. Still averaged 90%. That's awesome. And then for our assignments, the only one that I could really measure was just the number of people who I have a Genius Hour topic for. We're up to 43 now, 84%. And on that note, I'm just going to jump over here to the table again, and I'll be sending emails out again today, just as a reminder, because we're now going to be on our 3rd week of Genius Hour. There's still, I think, 8 people who I don't have a topic for. So just, if you're watching live, or, if you have the chance to replay it, just pause it. You can see, which names have a topic in next to them, which names don't. But we do have, I will say, 3rd hour is completely updated in terms of their Genius Hour topics. And then we just have a handful from 1st hour, 2nd hour still to go. So if you're one of those people who I don't have a topic from, like I said, I'll be emailing again today. Hopefully it's just something where you've known your topic and just haven't been able to email it to me or iron it out or whatever it might be. And then you've been able to get some work done, do some research and all that good stuff. And you're not actually 2 weeks behind where we would want to be. So we'll jump back over here. Here is our plan For today, for language arts, we're going to talk about the Google form that I sent out. I'm going to go over Animal Farm Chapter 2, which you read last week. The assignment for today, which is a writing response, and then I'll preview the optional assignment for language arts, which is a new vocab unit. I'm sure some of you have been missing vocab. This is going to be a brand new unit to which it's optional if you want to do the work for. But if you do the intro sheet, you get points for doing that. There will be review assignments or review quizzes just like there were last week, and it'll be a really easy way, because you're used to doing all these vocab sheets and review activities, be a really easy way to boost up your grade in a way that you're very, very comfortable with. Then we'll transition into social studies, relatively short plan today, which is just previewing and introducing the Part 4 video, 4 out of 5. So we're getting close to being done with the civil rights unit. All right, so let's jump over here to the Google form for today. I see I've already got 8 people who have responded. That's great. I think 3 parts. So the first part, just reminding you that I'm going to be going over Animal Farm today and that there's going to be a response for Chapter 2. Part 2, like I said, going over Vocab Unit 10. And then Part 3, your attendance response, your journal prompt for today is what was the most fun thing you did over the long weekend. So hopefully all of you will have something to talk about, something either you got to do outside because the weather was pretty nice, getting together with your family, something fun you saw, something really good your family made for a meal, anything that was kind of the highlight of your weekend. And then I'll have some of those to share tomorrow. So that is your writing response for today. So now let's transition over and talk about Chapter 2 for Animal Farm. So we are here in these slides, the outlines and the character pages. And today we are going to be talking about Chapter 2, which right after Chapter 1, we heard Old Major talk about it. Chapter 2 is when we see the moment of revolution. So we'll begin with our chapter summary, and I apologize. I can already tell that my head down at the bottom of the screen is going to cut some of this off, but I will read it so you can just follow along. Hopefully this all rings a bell and you have all this, but just as a refresher, this can be helpful as well. So after Old Major dies, the animals begin making plans to carry out his vision. Yes, Old Major gives this great speech, teaches the animals beasts of England. Then unfortunately he dies pretty soon after. So the animals begin making plans to carry out his vision. 3 pigs, Napoleon, Snowball, and Squealer, create a philosophy called Animalism. They begin teaching it to other animals and experience some doubts or questions from animals who cannot grasp life without a master. There are those who just can't get away from this idea of having a human master. The raven, whose name is Moses, is also a trouble for the pigs because he constantly spreads stories of Sugar Candy Mountain, a paradise that animals go to when they die. That should ring a bell if you're talking about an allegory in terms of a paradise that people are said to go to when they die. Sugar Candy Mountain, I'm sure plenty of you can make that connection as to what the allegory is for that. Luckily, Boxer and Clover's dedication to animalism helps the pigs spread their message. So the horses are really the main ones driving this connection to animalism. The rebellion occurs relatively quickly and easily. One day, Mr. Jones drinks so much that he forgets to feed the animals, so the animals break into the feed shed. When Jones and his men begin to try to whip the animals back into submission, the animals turn on the men and chase them off the farm. The animals look to erase all signs of man from the farm in the hours after gaining their freedom. They enjoy more food and sing Beasts of England to celebrate. The next day, the pigs reveal that they have learned to read and list what they have decided as the key 7 principles of animalism. The name is also changed from Manor Farm to Animal Farm. The animals prepare to go out to harvest, but the cows need to be milked first. There is some debate as to what should be done with the milk, but the pigs refocus the rest of the animals on the harvest. However, once they return that evening, the milk has disappeared. And that's the kind of cliffhanger ending that I had talked about in the preview for this chapter, which is what happened to the milk. So that was just a summary of chapter 2. We're going to talk about 3 characters who were introduced in this chapter who are very, very important to the rest of the story. They're all pigs. So we had Snowball, who is one of the pigs who takes the lead in the revolution. He is said to be a better speaker than Napoleon, but not as deep in character. He chastises Molly for her love of ribbons, and he talks about getting away from all of these tools of man. He also is the one who paints the 7 commandments of animalism on the barn wall because he is the best writer. And he eventually leads the animals out to the harvest. Then we have Napoleon, who is the other pig who takes the lead in the revolution. He is said to be a large and fierce-looking boar. He's not much of a talker, but he has the reputation for getting what he wants. Now, for those of you who can remember the Russian Revolution Prezi sheet, and we've talked about allegory, Snowball and Napoleon is kind of being like the 2 leaders in the revolution. You can probably make some predictions as to who they're going to represent from history, and we'll be talking about those in maybe a chapter or 2 on the allegory chart. And then we have Squealer, who is one of the porker pigs on the farm. He is a very clever talker who skips back and forth when he's arguing a particularly difficult point, which the other animals find very persuasive. So Squealer is kind of this brilliant talker. You know, they say that he's able to turn black into white. And so these are the 3 main characters who are introduced in chapter 2. So now I just wanted to talk about some of the important quotes from the chapter. So this is when the pigs are talking to the other animals about rebellion. We have that others ask such questions as, why should we care what happens after we are dead? Or, if this rebellion is to happen anyway, what difference does it make whether we work for it or not? And the pigs had great difficulty in making them see that this was contrary to the spirit of animalism. And then their 2 most faithful disciples were the 2 cart horses, Boxer and Clover. These 2 had great difficulty in thinking anything out for themselves, but having once accepted the pigs as their teachers, they absorbed everything that they were told and passed it on to the other animals by simple arguments. So this one just showing some of the difficulties the pigs had in spreading the ideals of animalism because the other animals don't quite grasp what it means to complete a revolution, even if it's something that they might not be around to see. But also on the other side of the coin, that Boxer and Clover, who are not really the leading thinkers, they aren't able to think anything out for themselves, but they are the ones who are able to take what the pigs are teaching them and pass it on to the other animals. So just a quote that kind of defines where the animals are at early on, the different roles that animals are playing leading up to the revolution. So the next important quote we have, this was after the revolution, and so it says, for the first few minutes, the animals could hardly believe in their good fortune. Their first act was to gallop in a body right round the boundaries of the farm, as though to make quite sure that no human being was hiding anywhere upon it. Then they raced back to the farm buildings to wipe out the last traces of Jones's heated reign. In a very little while, the animals had destroyed everything that reminded them of Mr. Jones. So from page 7, this is just talking about after the revolution, right after what the animals are doing. They're running around the farm, making sure that, yes, in fact, there are no more humans left. And then they go around and start wiping out all of these traces of man. Just like Old Major had talked about, the idea that man is the kind of the root of all evil, the root of all suffering. The animals want to get rid of any sense of Mr. Jones and humans from the farm. Then we have one more important quote, which is the next morning after the revolution when the animals wake up and they realize that, yes, it was theirs. Everything that they could see was theirs. They rolled in the dew, they cropped mouthfuls of the sweet summer grass, they kicked up clods of the black earth and snuffed its rich scent. Then they made a tour of inspection of the whole farm and surveyed with speechless admiration the plowland, the hayfield, the orchard, the pool, the spinney. It was as though they had never seen these things before, and even now they could hardly believe that it was all their own. So this is just to show you a sense of just how wonderful the animals feel about the farm, how beautiful it looks. You look at the word choice that George Orwell uses, talking about sweet summer grass, the rich scent of black earth, all the different things they could see. And it's like they're viewing the farm with new eyes because they are truly in control of it. So this is just kind of another effect of the revolution and just how the animals feel. And we're talking about these because they're important quotes, but also they'll hopefully be helpful for you when you're answering your assignment for today. And then finally, the last quote, which isn't really a quote, but I wanted to make sure that we talked about it, was right here, the 7 commandments of animalism that the pigs had created. So the 7 commandments which Snowball paints on the side of the barn are: whatever goes upon 2 legs is an enemy. Whatever goes upon 4 legs or has wings is a friend. No animal shall wear clothes. No animal shall sleep in a bed. No animal shall drink alcohol. No animal shall kill any other animal. And finally, all animals are equal. So this is animalism boiled down to its 7 main components. And these are all things reminding the animals of they are all equal, they are all friends, and then of all the things that they are not going to do so that they avoid becoming like the men that have mistreated them so much. So we'll see how these 7 commandments continue forward, but for right now, this is where the farm is at. This is what the animals are doing. All right, so that is chapter 2. Hopefully that was helpful. Hopefully all of you had remembered everything, and that was just a little bit of a refresher. But then with that in mind, your assignment for today, and this is the required one, this is the one for everybody, is a writing response about chapter 2. So here it is. It says, in chapter 2 of Animal Farm, the animals of Manor Farm chase Mr. Jones and his men off. This leaves the animals in control of the farm. In the hours after this happens, what is the animal's main goal? So then it says, answer this question in a clearly written paragraph, thinking about, and there are 4 things I gave you to think about. What do the animals do after the men are gone? We already kind of touched on that in looking at the chapter. Why do you think they do this? What are the animals' goals? And what lines from the story support your ideas? Okay, so what is the animal's main goal once they realize that they are in control of the farm? There is no real right or wrong answer as long as you're basing your answer on the story, and especially if you're using specific lines from the story in your answer. All right, so copy and paste. Put quotation marks around it to show that you know what you're talking about when you're talking about the animal's main goals, all right? It does say a clearly written paragraph, so I'm looking for more than just a couple sentences, but really just show off what you know, because I know that we've talked about it all year, and I know that you all are more than capable of taking things from the story and using them to support your answer. All right, so then tomorrow, I will take some of the responses that you all turn in for this writing response, and we will go over this as well. All right, so that is the required assignment for today, writing response on Chapter 2 from Animal Farm. All right, now I kind of touched on this before. And actually, you know what? I'm going to switch over to social studies, and then we'll come back to language arts, because the other language arts thing I wanted to talk about was optional. Want to make sure we get through all of our required work. And then for those of you who are still wanting to do the optional work, you can stay tuned in just to preview that at the end. All right, so we'll transition into social studies here. And it is just to take notes on section 4, or part 4, I'm sorry, which is the struggle continues. I shared the link out into Google Classroom. I want to say the video is about 8 minutes long, so it shouldn't take too super long. The guiding question was, what different approaches were taken in the fight for equal rights. So we're going to continue to learn about Martin Luther King and some of the things that he was doing and his followers. We're going to talk about Freedom Summer. We're going to talk about some other alternative mindsets or approaches in the civil rights era, groups like the Black Panthers, Malcolm X. All of that is going to come in this section. So notes for part 4, and then obviously tomorrow, you can see I've already got the key opened up here. Tomorrow on this stream, we will be going over the answers to those questions. All right, so that's it for social studies. Just the notes on part 4, and then the only requirement for language arts is the chapter 2 response, the written response. All right, so now we'll transition back to language arts, and this is your optional assignment for today. So anybody who's looking for an extra grade, anybody who's wanting to do additional vocab, that is the extra assignment that I sent out today, which is the intro sheet here for what would be Unit 10 of our Greek and Latin word roots. And I can see that, here we go. It was taking its time there for a second getting loaded in. But so we have 7 word roots in this unit. I'm sure a lot of them are ones that you all are going to know right away, are going to be familiar with. So we have ab/av. We have sid or sis, in, im, or ear. We have ob, ok, or op. We have per. We have sed or sid, and then vol or volve. All right, so just like we always do, we've done it for every other unit. If you want to complete this assignment, look up the definition, come up with one example word that uses that word root, and then the connection, which is how you can connect that example word back to the definition. All right, so remember when you're looking up the definitions, it's always better to look up whatever the word root is and then type in word root definition. So for example, sid or sis word root definition, that will give you the definition of that word root, hopefully. All right. If you're wanting to do this assignment, what I'm going to do in order for you to get credit for it is, because I don't want it to be where people who can just tune into the live stream tomorrow are just going to get credit for filling it in after I've gone over it. If you're going to do these word roots, just fill in the definition, one example, the connection, turn it in, and then I'm going to be checking tomorrow, probably around like 9:30, 9:45 before I come on for the live stream, and I will see who's got it turned in, mark it off, check it so that you're going to get credit for it. Then once I've gone over the answers, you can unsubmit it and fill in the rest of that chart. All right, so please make sure that you get it turned in before 10 o'clock tomorrow in order to get credit for doing this. And again, this is optional. This is only if you want to. But like I said, we'll have this. There will be review quizzes for you to take. Lots of opportunities to get some extra grades in the grade book for yourselves if you would like that. All right. So tomorrow we will go over the response for Chapter 2. We will continue forward with Animal Farm. We'll go over this, and then we'll be going over the civil rights notes as well. All right. As always, please feel free to email me if you have absolutely any questions at all. I will be emailing those of you who I don't have a Genius Hour topic for yet. But other than that, we should be good to go for hopefully one of our last couple weeks of e-learning here. All right. As I said again, I hope everyone had a great long weekend. I appreciate those of you who tuned in or who are watching later. And until then, I think that's all I have. So until tomorrow, this has been Professor Blazek, and I will see you all next time.